Hello, and welcome back to the SCP series, where I tell you about 5 different SCPs each video. Since we have now finished talking about the Safe class SCPs, we will now be going into the Euclid class SCPs. Now, before this video starts, I must put a disclaimer, for I will be reading each SCP's description directly from the SCP Wiki. None of the information that I'll be telling you is of my own writing. With all that said, let's get right into it.
SCP-573 is a flute made from bone. DNA and carbon testing reveal the material to be human, female, and approximately 1,000 years old. The bone is a femur and, from the size, comes from a child between the ages 7 and 12. SCP-573 was discovered in Louisiana by agents investigating the disappearance of local children. Agents arriving on the scene were attacked by a pack of wild animals, several different species working together. Once the animals were put down, the agents were then attacked by several of the missing children, being urged on by one Daryl King, the then owner of SCP-573. Agent shot Mr. King, ending his hold over the children and preventing a major incident. Testing of SCP-573 has revealed that when played, it places animals and prepubescent children into a highly receptive state. All creatures so affected are eager and willing to do whatever the player requests, including things that are beyond them when in a non-trance state. Once the instrument is played, subjects remain in the trance state for 5 times the period the flute was played for. Knowledge of how to play the flute is not needed to effectively use SCP-573. Anyone attempting to use SCP-573 will find themselves able to play the flute as they had been playing for years, and can play any song they desire. SCP-966 are predatory creatures that resemble hairless, digitigrade humans, possessing an elongated face with a mouth lined with needle-like teeth. On each hand, they have 5 claws that can be up to 20 centimeters long. Although sharp, these are easily broken, making them unfit for combat. SCP-966 height ranges from 1.4 to 1.6 meters, and they can reach up to 30 kilograms in weight. Physically, SCP-966 are weak, possessing hollow bones and low muscular density. They do not seem to rest through sleep. Instead, they will suddenly cease all movement at seemingly random intervals of time, resuming normal activity 3 to 5 minutes later. SCP-966 are visible only at wavelengths ranging from 700 nanometer to about 900 nanometer. This applies to all of SCP-966's tissues. If their skin, muscles, or organs have suffered from 2nd to 3rd degree burns, the affected areas will be visible at wavelengths ranging from 360 to 900 nanometer. SCP-966 feed on medium to large size animals, including humans. They hunt either alone or in pairs. Their hunting method consists of emitting a single burst of previously unknown type of wave, dubbed waves, in honor of the late Doctor, which permanently inhibits the ability of the affected creature to enter any of the NREM and REM sleep stages. The ability to microsleep is also lost. The effective range of the waves is up to 20 meters. However, tests show that they can be blocked by post-transition metals, particularly lead. All attempts to make victims of SCP-966 sleep have failed. It is still possible to induce other forms of unconsciousness, although they will usually prove detrimental to the affected subject as they do not provide true rest. After depriving their victims of sleep, SCP-966 will stalk their prey until the lack of rest incapacitates it. At this point, SCP-966 will proceed to consume it. SCP-966 has proved to be very agile and silent while stalking their victims. On occasion, they will deliberately make threatening noises around the prey in order to further stress it, and may even physically assault it if the victim proves to be particularly durable. Other than the common symptoms caused by sleep deprivation, some victims of SCP-966 have shown signs of suffering from extremely vivid hallucinations. as well as sudden bouts of rage with no apparent external stimuli. It is currently thought that these are the effects of prolonged exposure to waves. Why SCP-966 continually exposes these waves to only some of their victims is unknown. One hypothesis is that SCP-966 will only do this when starving, since it further degenerates the physical and mental state of their prey, incapacitating it at a faster rate. Wild instances of SCP-966 are found all over the world. Since their discovery in the Foundation has succeeded in greatly thinning their numbers, although they are still found in large quantities in many countries, particularly and SCP-012 was retrieved by archaeologist K.M. Sandoval during the excavation of a northern Italian tomb destroyed in a recent storm. The object, a piece of handwritten musical score entitled On Mount Golgotha, part of a larger set of sheet music, appears to be incomplete. The red/black ink, first thought to be some sort of berry or natural dye ink, was later found to be human blood from multiple subjects. The first personnel to locate the sheet had two members deceased into sanity, attempting to use their own blood to finish the composition, ultimately resulting in massive blood loss and internal trauma. Following initial investigations, multiple test subjects were allowed access to the score. In every case, the subjects mutilated themselves in order to use their own blood to finish the piece, resulting in subsequent symptoms of psychosis and massive trauma. Those subjects who managed to finish a section of the piece immediately committed suicide, declaring the piece to be impossible to complete. Attempts to perform the music have resulted in a disagreeable cacophony, with each instrumental part having no correlation or harmony with the other instruments. SCP-538 appears to be animate shadows of an unknown species of spiders. SCP-538 appears to feed off of the shadows of other living objects, and will move to the nearest shadow cast by a living organism. To feed, SCP-538 does no more than attach itself to the shadow of its host in such a manner that its own shadow is not obscured. Through this manner, a single specimen of SCP-538 can grow up to approximately 15 square centimeters in size. Feeding after this point appears to simply maintain this size. The whole process has so far proven to be harmless to the host. While a specimen can attach itself to an inanimate object to feed, it will slowly atrophy and decrease its size over time. Only when connected to the shadow of a living organism can SCP-538 thrive. SCP-538 has shown itself capable of going short distances through open, well-lit areas, such as to reach a nearby host or to escape a source of agitation. However, it will rapidly decrease in size at a rate of nearly 2 square centimeters per second for the length of time it is not attached to a shadow. Should a specimen be stranded out in the open long enough, it will eventually decrease to nothing, at which point it can be considered deceased. Top land speed has been observed at approximately 1 meter per second when at maximum size. SCP-538 has shown itself to be capable of slipping through cracks greater than 3 millimeters in height. Spaces less than this distant appear to be impassable. While generally benign, SCP-538 can and will attack its host if frightened. Frightening SCP-538 generally involves a rapid movement by its host, at which point it will bite the organism's shadow before attempting to flee. Bite must occur on bare skin to cause effects. Clothing material consisting of cotton or anything sturdier will provide sufficient protection. Upon being bitten, an individual will go through 5 different stages within the space of an hour. Note that bitten individuals may attempt to hide their condition. Therefore, any individual exhibiting the following symptoms must be contained immediately. Stage 1. Upon agitation, SCP-538 will bite the shadow of its aggressor. Subject will report pain in relative area bitten on shadow. However, no puncture or wound will appear in this location. Subject will quickly become irritable, snapping at those around him. Stage 2. 10 to 15 minutes after being bitten, subject will begin perspiring heavily, but may report feeling cold. Skin will become red and warm to the touch. Stage 3. 25 to 30 minutes after being bit, subject will become violent and aggressive, attempting to start conflict with those around him. Speech will be slurred and motor skills may be impaired. Subject will resort to violence, often attacking those closest to him. Stage 4. 40 to 45 minutes after being bitten, subject's skin color will turn pale and paste-colored, and their core temperature will drop between 5 and 8 degrees Celsius. Subjects will be apologetic to those around him, and may cite that he is not feeling well. Subject will attempt to excuse himself and retreat to a darker area. Stage 5. 55 to 60 minutes after being bit, subject will data expunged. Resulting fluid will be completely translucent and harmless. Subject shadow will have at this point completely disintegrated into smaller specimens of SCP-538, approximately 4 square centimeters in area, and for the lack of a better term, should be considered its offspring. There is currently no cure for being bitten by SCP-538. Death has proven to be ineffective at halting advancement of the condition, but rather skips the process directly to Stage 5. SCP-096 is a humanoid creature measuring approximately 2.38 meters in height. Subject shows very little muscle mass, with preliminary analysis of body mass suggesting mild malnutrition. Arms are grossly out of proportion with the rest of the subject's body, with an approximate length of 1.5 meters each. Skin is almost devoid of pigmentation, with no signs of any body hair. SCP-096 jaw can open to 4 times the norm of an average human. Other facial features remain similar to an average human, with the exception of the eyes, which are also devoid of pigmentation. It is not yet known whether SCP-096 is blind or not. It shows no signs of higher brain functions and is not considered to be sapient. SCP-096 is normally extremely docile, with pressure sensors inside its cell indicating it spends most of the day pacing by the eastern wall. However, when someone views SCP-096's face, whether it be directly via video recording or even a photograph, it will enter a stage of considerable emotional distress. SCP-096 will cover its face with its hands and begin screaming, crying, and babbling incoherently. Approximately 1 to 2 minutes after the first viewing, SCP-096 will begin running to the person who viewed its face. Documented speeds have varied from 35 kilometers an hour to kilometers an hour, and seems to depend on distance from SCP-096-1. At this point, no known material or method can impede SCP-096's progress. The actual position of SCP-096-1 has not seemed to affect SCP-096's response. It seems to have an innate sense of SCP-096-1's location. Note: this reaction does not occur when viewing artistic depictions. Upon arriving at SCP-096-1's location, SCP-096 will proceed to kill and data expunge SCP-096-1. 100% of cases have left no traces of SCP-096-1. SCP-096 will then sit down for several minutes before regaining its composure and becoming docile once again. It will then attempt to make its way back to its natural habitat, data redacted. Due to the possibility of mass chain reaction, including breach of Foundation secrecy and large civilian loss of life, retrieval of subject should be considered alpha priority.
This concludes today's documentation. I apologize if you had a hard time understanding what I was saying because of any stuttering or word jumble. If I've missed any information or have gotten something wrong, please comment down below and share your thoughts. Until next time, friends, stay safe.